Five, four, three, two, one. I want to say welcome back to Mr. David Anderson. How you doing, sir?
If you just don't call me Dave, like I feel like every time I talk to you, I'm about to be audited.
No, not at all. We're glad to have you back. The people really enjoyed you. The first question I wanted to ask, getting right into it, is that there's a lot of talk online about Roland Martin
Yeah,
and Oprah Winfrey,
certainly.
and what some will refer to as the campaign payment scandals.
Yes.
For those unaware, can you please first clarify what's the issue people have with Oprah's relationship or receiving funding from Kamala Harris?
Well, the first thing is obvious. Oprah's a billionaire with a B several times over. She does not need the money. But again, that's not me pocket watching. Shout out to my boy Pocket Watching with JT. Great channel if you haven't subscribed to it. But here's the thing. Oprah did not get paid a dime to endorse Obama. She didn't get paid a dime to endorse Stacey Abrams. She didn't get paid a dime to endorse Cory Booker or 1,000,001 other people that she's donated her time, energy, effort, and platform to over the past few decades. So for me, I'm trying to look at it and say, if you didn't charge any of these people, why are you charging this particular person? And we all know what the reason is. I believe, and I don't have any tangible proof, but I can look at someone's behavior and deduce that you didn't believe in this woman, but if you're going to do it, okay, well, you're going to pay my production company $2.5 million and you're going to, I'll do an interview with you. And then I want you to go back and watch that interview with Kamala, speaking specifically about Oprah. Oprah looked annoyed so many times in there. Like, if I'm giving you softball questions and people are talking to you about how they lost their house or they had to downsize or whatever, and your first response is, well, I was born in a middle class family and my mother was raising two brown girls to be black. And what does that have to do with this white couple that is telling you that they are PO and too poor to afford the OR? Like, that's problematic. The other part of that is it reeks of impropriety. So, for example, Montel Williams, who we all know was a talk show host and made a killing in the game. He was one of the first black men I see go head up with Maury Povich, Phil Donahue, even Geraldo. He was an amazing dude. I would say about 10, 15 years ago, maybe a little bit early, he was doing infomercials where he was promoting a healthy lifestyle because of his medical conditions and things like that. So he had certain products. If your kids don't like veggies, well, you hide them in the smoothies. And remember that? But if you notice at the bottom, it said, this is a paid commercial advertisement. This is an infomercial, so on and so forth. When you're being paid and you're looked at as a respectable member of the media or a respected member of the media, and you don't disclose that, it becomes an issue because it looks like impropriety. And then the FCC says that not only are you supposed to disclose it, but you're also supposed to make sure that you're not leaning into such advocacy where you're trying to lopsidedly poison the electorate. And that's the thing that got people looking at Oprah sideways, and it's darn sure the thing that's gotten people looking at Roland Martin sideways. Because I can tell you from experience, see, we can talk in the comments about what you think and how you feel, and you're entitled to your feelings, but you're not entitled to your own facts. As a person that has spent, I would say, a good 70% of his life in mainstream media, I'll give you a more recent example. When I produced the Ricky Smiley Morning Show and we put them into syndication, we had to deal with the FCC because you're dealing with a mainstream actual media outlet. And stay with me here because I want to be clear. When you have a candidate on, whether they're in a primary, whether they're in a general election, you have to, according to the FCC, when you're licensed by the Federal Communications Commission, you have to offer equal time to their opponents. If you do not, you are in violation of FCC mandates.
And that's Trump's issue with NBC with the lawsuit. He's saying
Absolutely.
they did the SNL skit and other stuff, and he feels that he didn't get
Absolutely.
airtime.
Because fair is fair because they had the same issues when Trump did Saturday Night Live. Go back and look when Trump did Saturday Night Live, the Democrats was hollering the same thing. And so when it came to Ricky's situation, we would have Barack Obama on, but then I would have to reach out to the Clinton campaign, and I had to reach out to John Edwards' campaign. I reached out to God rest his soul. Oh, help me! I can see him clear as day. Oh gosh, I can You know who I'm talking about. Oh, he died. Oh my gosh, it's John McCain. Reach out to John McCain's campaign. And if they decline, cool, but I still had to keep a record of it so that nobody can say, no, there's some equal time stuff.
Oh, it's just the fact of, all right, whether they accept it or not, that's not on you, but the fact that
You have
reached
to
out
offer.
provide the opportunity.
At what point did you hear Roland Martin say he'd offered equal time?
All right, please break down the different levels of media you took.
Okay, so there is mainstream media, which is MSNBC, CBS, ABC, what have you, right? Then there's independent media, which is, you know, anybody with a microphone, anybody with a blog, podcast, things of that nature. And then you have what is being called Mindy, which is mainstream independent media, which means you're not exactly the big boys, but you're not just a regular person in their basement with, you know, with a roadcaster. You are a person that, or a company that has a certain level of pull. So you would fall under that. All hip hop would fall under that. Media Takeout would fall under that. Roland Martin definitely falls under that. And so when you are positioning yourself in one way, like Roland Martin is, oh, well, I'm a media company and bit. And, you know, you're not mad when Charlemagne does bit. And it's like, okay, dude, either you're a mainstream media company or you're a Mindy. You can't be both whenever it suits you. And the truth of the matter is you did not offer equal time. You did not disclose the fact that you got paid. You constantly complain that you aren't getting any money. And my whole thing is, if you want candidates to pay black media outlets, as you said, then you also have to tell me why you would not take Trump money. Because by that same token, iHeartRadio, Radio One, all of these other outlets have taken money from both campaigns to advertise. You never positioned your interview with Kamala Harris as an advertisement, and then you were walking around like you were her press secretary. Well, see here, she's going to be in this place, and then she's going to be in that place.
All right, the question I have for you now is, right, how would you go about, like, I understand the balance, but if you didn't do the balance, and I think he's an extreme case because he really went super hard with the Democratic.
Certainly.
But how would you disclose this is a paid interview to the public? You just put it up there, or how does it work?
Like anything else, if you watch The View and they're doing a story on Disneyland, they will say that ABC is owned by Disney. Disney is our parent company. Right. This time was paid for. You could put it in a small disclaimer, just like they do for herpes medication. At the bottom,
something up.
You got to put something up
Legally.
Yeah, but he didn't do that. And until the FEC, you know, put out the filings of where all the money went,
It would have been silent.
it would have been silent. But everybody knew it was going to come out in the wash. And if it didn't come out in the wash, it was going to come out in the rinse.
I think too, like, listening to people and just reading comments, people could tell when you're, like, kind of going too hard in a particular direction.
Right. You're being a paid show.
Yeah. So, like, on here we have people from all. I think we do a good job of balancing both sides and stuff.
Certainly.
But other people can tell, like, man, you're going a little too hard on this, so it must be some affiliation.
Absolutely. And the thing of it is, if you have your person, that's fine, but don't call yourself a journalist. That's it. Because journalism means that you're to be objective. The reason that Walter Cronkite was effective for 50 years, while Dan Rather was effective for 50 years, it was just the facts. And that's the way it is. That's not what's happening now. Everybody's got opinion pieces or think pieces. When I watch The View, for example, when I look at it today, and I can only look at it in clips because it drives me insane how tripped out they are. And everybody's going to die and it's so bad. That's not what Barbara Walters wanted for that show. You know, Barbara Walters is an actual journalist. She said for the first 10 years of that show, I had this idea for a show. Different women from different walks of life and different points of view. Now, everybody on that show is left-leaning and is crazy and, oh, Donald Trump's so evil. But y'all, half of them were up there talking about how good of a man Donald Trump was, how much of a friend he was, how Donald Trump didn't charge Whoopi Goldberg to be in her movie. So
do you think it's a funding issue? Is it a sponsor issue?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I think people get paid. I can't trust somebody who gets paid 7 figures to push a certain agenda. And that certain agenda, if you notice, that certain agenda has become so pervasive, there's going to be a pushback. Scientifically, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're going so far to the left, the right is going to push back. And that's the thing. You act like you have people on that show who have contrarian points of view, but if they did, then why is it anytime they talk, you're ready to go to break? right? Anytime they say something that you don't agree with, you cut them off and say, oh, it's racism, it's misogyny, and this, that, and the third. And those things do exist, and you have to acknowledge them. But if somebody has an opinion different than yours, you're ready to yell and scream, and this, that, and the third. And then you'll go so far as to ignore facts to a point where you had candidates threatening to sue ABC. That's why you keep seeing on The View, they keep having to read these legal notes, so that's a problem.
I think what we're seeing is a reflection of society on a whole, though. You can't have people can't accept an argument that doesn't align with their belief system. Like the default mostly is aggression, getting loud, sometimes violence.
Right.
So I think we're intellectually immature collectively to where we can't have a conversation and disagree, and it has to blow up in this different thing.
Right. But my whole thing with that is, sure, people, it's a sensitive subject. That's why they tell you in entertainment, don't ever talk about religion or politics, because it's very divisive. It's always been that way. Here's my issue. We live in a country where you can vote for whoever you want. That's your business. That's why they do it in a booth that's private. You also have the right to wear whatever paraphernalia you want to wear, do whatever you want to do, protest peacefully, all that kind of good stuff. I just saw a thing this morning on YouTube where there was a black woman who was a Trump supporter who got punched in the jaw by an old white woman who said, I can't understand why somebody black or brown or of color would ever vote for Donald Trump. And her next thing was to punch this woman in the jaw. And that Karen got arrested. But my whole thing is, like, you're trying to tell people that your side is the right side and you don't know how to improve your argument. So you resort to violence, you resort to name calling. You're doing what the late Kevin Samuels would refer to as sign language: shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right with a side of violence.
You're bringing up some great points. And what I'm noticing also is that politics has taken the place of religion as that place of solace, right? So before, it's like you look to whoever you deal with, right, for that kind of comfort. But now the saving grace is politics. Have you noticed that? Or
yeah, I think politics has always been akin to religion, right? The difference is a lot of you go back 50, 60 years, you could go to the black church and you could organize because it was a safe haven, it was holy ground, it was respected. Now, not so much. If you're going in, you're going because, well, pastor got a good message and, I'm going to pay my tithe, so on and so forth. And I also think that people can believe in politics a lot more than they can believe in a God, where the only thing shiny in most densely populated black neighborhoods is the church, the weed spot, and the liquor store. So why am I going to give you 10% when you rolling and I'm trying to figure out how I still have more month at the end of my money? I mean, show me how the black church is effective by and large. I don't want exceptions. I want the rule. I want the standard.